evolving and becoming more into the community, basically, what I realize is that our policing challenges are becoming bigger and bigger. And obviously, in step with that, we have to up our game in terms of engaging the issues that pertain to safety, security, and by extension, national security. So it is appropriate for a proactive organization to take the necessary step. There are a lot of vehicles on our road these days, and so it would be remiss of us if we do not address those issues of concerns that relate to safety on our roads, on the nation's road.
Wonderful.
So it's very appropriate for Mr. Prince to engage, the truckers in that regard.
Yeah, I saw it, and I was saying, sometimes we only see the police when something happens, but we like the fact that you were out there encouraging people to adhere to the practices, adhere to the speed limits, adhere to the law. Don't overload people on the back. I mean, we saw what happened recently, so we like those reminders. Sometimes we know it's in the back somebody and we forget, and somebody asks you for a ride, or you put somebody there, it's unsafe. You put them there to hold on a string with a load of cement, all sort of crazy things we see. So those little reminders are very timely, and I was happy that the police reached out to the truckers and met with them and were able to highlight some of the concerns coming from the public.
If you permit me to insert, there are a lot of violations that are taking place on the road with respect to truckers and so. It concerns me personally, if I should say so, with respect to the carrying of sand and other aggregates without it being properly covered. It dawned on me that if, let's say, a bikeman is traveling and sand gets into his eyes, that could lead to easily a fatal accident. So there are more reasons than one why we should really and truly enforce and probably educate our truckers, such that the nation's road can be a little bit more safer, and we avoid all unpleasantness.
And I keep saying that when these roads were built, they probably didn't have the size of the trucks we're accommodating now in mind. Our roads are narrow. We don't have sidewalks, so it's very important for them to stay within the limits.
That is true.
Yeah. So that being said,
the greater concern is that
no, you were going to a greater concern
is that there are increased. Yeah, there are increased volume of vehicles on our nation's road. So enforcement becomes even a greater challenge.
Okay, right. So I was just going to lead into, I know what you were hoping to get into this morning, which is some safety, general safety for children. We have lots of students, and so returning to schools. They were home for a bit, but now they're out again in the public space, and I'm sure it's a concern and an area the police will be looking at keenly.
Yep. Traditionally, school would open within, let's say, the first probably or second week of September. Unfortunately, we haven't had that this year. We've had a lot of, delay, postponement, tweaking, and going back to the drawing board with respect to how to approach this due to, COVID. Notwithstanding that, notwithstanding these unprecedented times, there are some concerns really and truly that are consistent, regardless of time. I would probably like to speak to some of the consistent concerns, safety concerns, as well as some that we would have been thrown into with respect to these new challenges that COVID would have brought upon us, relative to students and students going back to school. So, if you would permit, I probably address a few. The issue of road safety, as we touched on before, children are obviously going to be traversing the road to and from school. It is important that students traverse the road safely. Also observing pedestrian crossing, probably street lights if there are any in the area. When I say street light, traffic lights, sorry, if there are any in the area. The lights on green, it permits vehicles to go. The lights on yellow.
Before you go on, we have traffic lights in Grenada still working?
The one in St. Andrews, I think.
We have one. Okay.
Certainly. Yeah, in St. Andrews.
Okay.
It works. The one on the bridge, Paradise Bridge. That is. Yeah, it works. It works. Yeah. So the lights, if it's on yellow, you observe. This is basically for the drivers. So it indicates to the driver that they need to slow down. it's on red, it indicates to them to stop. So when the light is on red, it might be an opportune time for persons who are seeking to cross the road to cross when it's on red. Also, pedestrian crossings, and so, sometimes students linger on the pedestrian crossing and more or less create some sense of confusion for drivers. And so that in itself, is indeed a concern, because vehicle in itself, if a driver is confused, and a driver will probably get a wrong message from you that you intend to cross, or and he may just go ahead when he think that you did not want to cross, and can impact into you, and basically, create some sense of collision with a pedestrian, might be a child, and so that in itself could create, a massive investigation, a road traffic fatality, and so forth, a massive investigation, and so forth, that take place, and the loss of life. So using this pedestrian crossing is important. Sidewalks, it is important. We don't have much sidewalks in most places in Grenada. We want to emphasize, where there's sidewalk, you make use of the sidewalk as students. From time to time, it is advised that whenever you're using the road, like if you're walking along the road, you walk on the side where the vehicular traffic is approaching you. In that you're not walking ahead and then the vehicle is tailing you, as the case may be. If the vehicle lost control, it may just run you over without you suspecting. So it's always advised that you walk on the side of the vehicle, on the side where the vehicle is approaching you.
Right.
Also, some people have the tendency to walk on corners. We want to avoid or discourage people from walking along the corners. If you're walking along the corner, as the case may be, based on how the vehicle corner, it could impact you. So you want to probably walk on the opposite side of the corner, or the side of the corner that is most safe,
right,
for pedestrian to walk.
Whether you think the driver could probably see you more.
Using good sense. Yeah, it's basically using good sense in terms of, and good judgment in terms of, road usage. For the drivers, I probably would want to emphasize, there are areas that are mapped out school zones. Yet we have a lot of drivers ignoring the indication that this area is a school zone, and they would be speeding through that area, as the case might be. The fact that it has been declared a school zone, it is trying to draw to your attention that you need to drive with some sense of caution. Likewise, when, apart from school zone, some drivers could be sensitive enough to determine when school probably is over. You may find more students on the road. Likewise, in the morning when students are coming to school and so forth. So you need to really and truly exercise some measure of, better sense, better judgment with respect to your use of the road. Because whenever you've been charged for traffic violation, especially in accidents and so forth, the primary charge is driving without due care and attention. So we want to emphasize to drivers to exercise added due care and attention to avoid impacting our young leaders, if I should call them that.
No, they are. Before
I understand.
Before you go into your next point, I know in the past we've seen the police strategically positioned around school zone areas, as you call them. We've seen them on top of Market Hill and in Tantine and in my area in St. Paul's around the schools. I know in other areas they've been out and about in the previous terms. Are they out this term?
Yes, we would be out doing traffic management with respect to the schools. That's something that we do not let up on, basically. Okay. It's a primary function of policing, traffic management, and where we anticipate increased population of students going back to school. It's something that we'd have to look at, because as I speak, I recall COVID has reduced probably school days as well. And the reduction of school days we'd have to probably see how that is managed, when you deploy police officers to manage those situations. Because these days, one form probably is accommodated per day in some of the secondary schools. The primary schools might have a different reality, but they're trying to reduce the school population. Either way, safety and security with respect to, our students traversing the road, it is something that is close and dear to the RGPF, and we give those issues priority attention based on the situation on the ground.
Okay. All right, great. You were making some points. You were going through some points and I interrupted you. I apologize. Carry on.
Yeah. No, that's how it should flow. Dialogue, that's monologue. So apart from that, apart from the issue of saying how persons should walk along the road and the issue of school zone and so forth, we'd also like to bring to the attention of students. We're in a gadget era, and most of the time students bury their head in their gadgets and walk the streets. We would also want to advise students, when you walk the streets, as the case may be, you should be assertive enough to know where you are, what's around you, and so forth. You could orient yourself properly. Try and avoid burying your head in your gadgets. If you have to probably look into your phone, we advise that you stop and probably engage maybe somebody in a conversation or text, rather than walking with the phone in front of you. It makes you tunnel vision. What you call tunnel vision, makes you your focus one way. You don't see around the periphery around you. You don't see whether or not you're in danger. You don't see whether or not sometimes maybe falling into a ditch or probably walking into a vehicle. So we want to advise students, do not bury your head in your gadget such that you lose track or you lose a sense of what's around you. That could lead you into serious problems in that of an accident and so forth. So that's another point. The other points is, I mentioned, use the sidewalk, use pedestrian crossing properly. We find, I grew up in Grenada. I've been a student myself, and sometimes students tend to play in the road. Sometimes students tend to push one another in front of a vehicle.
Fun and games. Serious thing, fun and games.
So we want to discourage that kind of a game, pushing students or pushing each other into the road and playing in the road. The road, as I said, is not a place to play. I grew up actually, and I've said this before on GBN. I grew up playing football in the road. I grew up playing basketball in the road and cricket in the road. You can't do that now.
No, you can't. Too many vehicles.
Probably second or probably less than a second, a vehicle passes.
Too many vehicles. So, you're right.
That tells you.
Traditional.
That tells you that the road is not a place to play.
It's not. You made a point before about children being on their devices and it's a concern for not just the children but for road users in general. And I look at some people playing music. I grew up with old people, and my grandfather always said, never have too much music or noise around you that you cannot hear what is going on around you. So even in your vehicle, I always figure you have to be able to hear. You go down a corner, somebody blow a horn, sometimes your music so loud you can't even hear. Noise in general, and as you said, devices, detrimental on the roads.
Similar to alcohol, in a detrimental way. Loud music can impair, your probably assertiveness, your ability to hear. I did an accident the last time, and there was a vehicle not related to the accident, but playing alongside that corner and playing very loud. One of the drivers said that he blew his horn. The other driver that's approaching from the other direction said he didn't hear no horn because there was loud music on the side playing. So, it impairs judgment, attention, the ability to be, assertive or to be notified duly. And so that in itself can cause problems. A lot of people, there are laws against it. We have in the road traffic regulation where persons can be ticketed for these offenses, playing, music excessively loud in their vehicles and so forth, So it's a matter of probably enforcing, because these things are becoming even more and more common. I mean, from where I work, I work in a station that is close to the road, and sometimes all in the night, you hear the noise, and so sometimes I'm tempted to get out, leave the desk and go outside and challenge them,
No, you have to engage. You have to engage.
It is, yeah, it is really, 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 really offensive,
So it is, and it's not just offensive, it leads to problems.
It leads to problems, like I would have alluded to with the accident. So it's just like drinking alcohol. Alcohol impairs your judgment to some extent. Loud music and so forth sometimes tend to prevent you from being aware of what you should be aware of, and it could lead to problems. Yeah. So also, I have here. No, this is a very important point. When exiting buses, if I should draw upon my own experience, I should have been dead already. As a child, I came from a bus and I attempted to cross from behind.
Wow.
And as I stepped my feet just like outside of the rear of the bus, there came a vehicle. The breeze probably alone that pushed me back.
Wow.
So it's important that students understand that whenever a bus stops, you drop from a bus. If you're not assisted by the conductor or the driver to cross, wait until, and that probably applies not just only for children, it applies for adults as well. Wait until the bus moves out of the way before you attempt to cross the road. And it makes the difference between whether or not you live to see probably next year or not. That's serious. And so I'm just appealing to students and probably adults by and large, whenever you drop from a bus, if you are not assisted by the conductor to cross or the driver to cross, wait until the bus moves out of the way before you cross.
I think that is probably the best advice in terms of crossing the road after you get off a bus or another vehicle, because sometimes some people would advise you to cross in front of the bus, and sometimes you see the driver trying to stop vehicles behind him or even oncoming vehicles, and they're not paying attention. So the best advice really is to wait until the road is clear and then you proceed.
Apart from me saying that I've almost been a victim of a road fatality in that respect, I'm aware that a lot of persons would have died tragically in under those circumstances.
Yeah. It's not safe. It's not safe. Even if people say go in front of the bus.
Yeah.
The driver is stopping. People are busy. They're not paying attention. Wait. Good advice.
Yeah. Let the bus go. Then you could take your time and cross. Look left. Look right. Left again. And then you cross as briskly as possible. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's another concern. Right. So moving on. We have some concerns for parents. At this point in time, we have family situation where you're accustomed to probably everybody leaving the house at 8 o'clock. These days, with the COVID situation, some parents have to find alternative arrangements, even sometimes leaving some children home because they don't have school today, or probably they have school later on this afternoon and so forth. So it has kind of given parents a added challenge to manage the home. In actual fact, I mean, my observation, families are under great stress these days, great levels of stress, financially, and probably even managing through COVID. And so what I would like to advise is that, if you have to leave students home, do not leave them unsupervised. Make sure that you leave students, especially those who are of tender age, very young children. Make sure that you leave them home with proper supervision. proper supervision. And I probably want to add, even as a law enforcement officer, you can't leave them with somebody who have pedophile tendencies. You should not, because they're moving the situation from one problem
to another.
Trying to avoid one problem, and you're stepping into the next. Leave them with trustworthy people, competent, capable individuals. Sometimes it may say hard to find, but you really gotta try to find some. So that being said, while children are home, it's important that you try and prevent them from
Okay, I don't know what happened, but we're no longer hearing you.
I'm hearing you.
Okay, we got you back. Go ahead.
I'm here. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
We're good again. We just lost you there for a minute.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Yeah, I'm hearing you. Actually, I'm not sure, but I'm hearing you. I've been hearing you.
Okay, we're back again.
So I was saying, in terms of when you leave children home, I was saying we are into an age that is described as the electronics age, where a lot of children, are confined to devices and so forth. And so you got to be wary of or mindful of the fact that you do not leave your children home to probably fiddle with electrical cables and wires that might be broken, which would lead to electrocution. So you gotta, as parents, safeguard against that. If you have cables or broken cables, or your wires are exposed, or probably it presents a shock risk for your children, we advise that you try and address that situation.
That's a great point.
All different types of gadgets.
That's a great point. And now it's a necessity. It's not just fun and games. It's a necessity, because those who are home, they should be on the device, probably following virtually the classes online, because I think for the most part they're doing 2 days in school, and the other 3 for most students it's online. So it probably wasn't a consideration, as you say, last term, but this term you have to ensure that you don't leave them with any broken wires or anything to jeopardize them. We're almost coming to the end of our segment. It's 25 minutes gone past 11. Did you get through all of your points for us today?
Not really. I mean, I had points like itemized parents, students, teachers.
Right. Tutors. You had something for everybody? Okay, so you have 3 minutes.
Yeah.
3 minutes to wrap up.
Okay, well, what I want to say is that these are unprecedented times, and one thing that is consistent is that the threat of safety and security remains the same in terms of securing your kids from, well, be it accidents, be it the issue of, I was saying, pedophile violation, the issue of students probably even being bullied, both on social media and probably in school. As they go back to school, these are very stressful times. I would want to advise parents to think through the process of the safety of the children. Some parents probably, I've been seeing, would let the children of tender age even traverse the streets, busy streets and so forth, as the case might be. And I'm telling myself, that is so risky, So I'd like to advise you parents, have your children, as they walk the road, walk with some adult or the other to guide them through.
I always say no preschooler should be on their own.
That's as much.
No preschooler should be on their own.
I see it. I see it happening. I see, children of tender age walking through town. I see children of very tender age walking through town. And I know, as me being a parent, I would never expose my children.
That is scary. That is scary. Preschoolers, they're 3, 4,
So
5. They should have some adult supervision, a big sister or somebody.
So the whole issue of road safety, from time to time, the RGPF would, be invited into school to speak to those issues. So, if persons feel concerned that they would like the student population to be a little bit safer, as they traverse the streets and so forth, we always open to speak to those things and educate our young children on how to use the road safely. So we're open to that as an organization.
Okay. And should they contact you? Should they contact the traffic department or the community relations department for that?
The traffic department or the nearest police station that serves your community is okay. Or the community relations department. Community relations department will probably delegate and disseminate the information or the need and so forth, and the appropriate station within the area or the closest station within proximity can address that request.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate all the tips, all the information, and I'm sure we'll continue another time. Before you go, though, I cannot have you this morning and not ask. I'm still getting the feedback, but anyways, we saw this weekend, we saw an altercation between a police officer, a pregnant female, and a gentleman being arrested and created some tensions. We saw different views going back and forth on social media on it. Do you know if that matter is being investigated by the RGPF?
I've been seeing myself related. I saw the video. I saw related videos and comments where that is concerned. I believe that the Commissioner of Police will give that issue some attention, and in due course, if he chooses to, he will, probably address the issue in one way or the other. But our job as police officers, I always say, is, and people may not like to hear it, is confrontational. We are not carpenters. We do not deal with inanimate things. We deal with people with emotions and so forth. While we must be tactful in dealing with people and probably understand people's psychological position when we treat with them, but our job is a confrontational one. And there are times you cannot avoid but be either combative or be deadlocked into maybe, using justifiable use of force. Sometimes things may get out of hand, but we always use the watchword, use justifiable use of force to address the situation. While I probably cannot speak, I don't have knowledge, all the knowledge with respect to that issue, I myself have confronted people and faced resistance. And, in the public domain, if a video, somebody is videoing, sometimes the wrong message may be conveyed, but the best thing that somebody should do is to cooperate with the police. At the end of the day, you will have your day in court. You will have, a fair opportunity to defend yourself based on the facts. Yeah, resisting the police is another offense. In the U.S. and other places, we see what happens whenever you resist the police, as the case might be. They give you, they react with fatal consequences. So
it's a different ball game out there.
Day in court to defend yourself.
It's a different ball game out there. Totally. Yeah. As a police officer, this is
I can say on this issue.
I know it's probably an active investigation and you can't comment on it. But as a police officer, are you okay with being outfitted with cameras?
Well, I think it's okay. I mean, I think probably the reason why that is considered a priority is because sometimes you face situations and you probably cannot say who is wrong or right, and you're not betwixt. It helps kind of be like an umpire, or serve as an umpire, just as in cricket and so forth, as the case with respect to addressing issues. Because most times, sometimes, legal lawsuits and so forth come forward, and sometimes it sees the police officer in the light of being wrong, and it costs the state. So I think it's a okay initiative.
Okay. Well, we'll see if and when I understand it should be coming. It's coming on stream soon, so I guess we'll see if and when it rolls out. No, I say I understand it should be coming on stream soon.
Yeah, I think it's already out there.
It's already out there? Okay.
It's a good initiative.
I heard it was coming. I didn't realize they actually implemented it yet. Interesting. But Officer Douglas, we have to, Douglas Roberts, that is, we have to leave it here today. It is 27 and a half minutes on to that 12 o'clock hour. Thank you so much for sharing. We appreciate it. And next week, God's willing, we'll continue again with the RGPF on Tuesday. So we take a break here, folks, but we will be back on the buzz. We have lots more for you. Stay with us. We have lots more for you. Stay with us.
Reading is too hard. Reading school books is lame. I'd rather read about children like me and cool things. I can read, but sometimes I don't even know why I have to. It makes no sense.
Why can't we read about things we like?
Reading is the key to unlocking all learning and ensuring that children reach their potential. Here's what the children have to say.
Make reading fun.
Teach me how to read, but let me practice reading with things I like to read.
Talk with me and read with me at least for a short time every day.
Let me tell you my own stories.
Read, learn, grow. The children are the future. Help them read, learn, grow. So parents, you play your part.
This message is brought to you by the OECS USAID Early Learners Program, funded by United States Agency for International Development.
Greetings, everyone. I hope this message meets you and yours in the best of health as we join in encouraging all to act responsibly.
COVID-19 presents the most serious
and deadly challenge
any of us will experience in our lifetimes.
We must act now.
We need to keep the Caribbean safe.
We can all help to stop the spread of the coronavirus. Please stay at home.
So Caribbean people, please stay home.
Caribbean people, please stay at home.
Please stay home. It's that simple. This too shall pass. But for now, stay home.
Stay in your yard. Stay home, stay safe.
Protect yourself and our community from COVID-19. Wash your hands frequently with soap and water for at least 20 seconds. If soap and water are not available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with at least 70% alcohol. Use a tissue when blowing your nose, sneezing, or coughing. Immediately discard the tissue properly and wash or sanitize your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Let's do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. To stay up to date, visit the Government of Grenada's webpage or the Ministry of Health's Facebook page. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health's hotline by calling 53-VIRUS. This has been a public service announcement brought to you by the Ministry of Health.
The following are a list of food items to have on hand amidst COVID-19. Perishables like vegetables, fruits, provisions, and eggs. You are advised to stock perishable items to last up to 2 weeks. Non-perishable items including dry goods like cereals, flour, cornmeal, oats, rice, pasta, nuts, and nut butters like peanut butter, crackers, canned or frozen meats, ready-to-eat canned meats, powdered or canned milk, dried peas and beans, canned fruits in natural juices, 100% canned fruit juices, and canned vegetables. You can stock non-perishable food items to last up to 1 month. Store bottled or clean drinking water, 1 gallon or more per day per person. If you suffer from a medical condition, have prescribed medications on hand. A message from the Grenada Food and Nutrition Council as we battle COVID-19.
The best way to protect yourself from 2019 novel coronavirus is to avoid being exposed to the virus. Additionally, there are preventative actions that you can take to protect yourself and your family from the spread of respiratory viruses that can make you sick. These include stay home if you're sick, cover your cough, and wash your hands. We believe this new virus spreads mostly from person to person through respiratory droplets produced when someone who is sick coughs or sneezes. This is similar to how flu and other respiratory illnesses spread. These droplets can land in the mouth or nose of people nearby, or possibly be inhaled into the lungs. Most person-to-person spread happens when people are in close contact. It's also possible that this virus can spread when someone touches a contaminated surface and then touches the mouth, nose, or eyes.
COVID-19 spreads from person to person through the droplets that are produced when someone coughs or sneezes, which makes it easy to spread between people in close contact. Now let's get prepared to stay healthy.
To reduce your chance of catching or spreading COVID-19, practice these simple everyday preventative measures. Droplets can also land on surfaces, so ensure that you wash your hands frequently for a minimum of 20 seconds or sing the happy birthday song twice. Avoid touching your face, especially your eyes, nose, and mouth. If soap and water are not readily available, use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer with an alcohol content between 60 and 90%. 70% is ideal.
When you cough or sneeze, cover your nose and mouth with a flexed elbow or a tissue. Dispose of the tissue immediately and then wash your hands. If you notice someone has a fever and cough or other symptoms of respiratory illness, avoid close contact when possible. Let's all do our part to ensure that each and every Grenadian remains healthy. Our health is our collective responsibility.
able to make that second connection at all. So we will have to leave it here for today because we'd have to vacate the studio now. It is 11 minutes on to 12, and as you know, the midday edition of news comes up at the top of the hour. So we'll have to rest for the while, and we'll try it again tomorrow, God's willing. But in the meantime, have a great... What is it today? Tuesday? Yes, it's Tuesday. The week flies by so quickly. Sometimes I just lose track. But it's Tuesday. It's a beautiful Tuesday in the spice. It's sunny on the outside. Some may say it's very, very hot. Stay hydrated. Stay safe until tomorrow, God's willing. Have a good one. Until tomorrow, I'm Janelle. Bye-bye.